Good evening, everybody. Hope you're doing very, very well. Welcome to my super adventure again. This time it's a little bit more complete. There's still no crash bars or anything like that on it, but I've sorted a load of problems out. I say a load of problems, a couple of the issues out. Now, I will get on the road quickly because it's cold and I've got my heated gear on and all sorts of stuff because it's getting chills and they're multiplying and I'm losing control. The bike is now running a shed load better than it was. I did a bit of a test recce run yesterday and I filmed a video. It was about 4 PM in the afternoon. It is the 24th of November when I'm filming this. It got really dark and the camera went really grainy. So I thought I'd save or refilm it today going into work. Actually, the one thing I am going to do before I go anywhere is change the position of this. That is flapping around more than Bonnie Blue. Probably shouldn't say that, but I just did. Going. I'm using these new DJI Mic 3s as well because I'm trying to lean my editing and filming process out a little bit. I had the Mic 2s before, which were okay, but they were quite tinny, so I'm just testing the Mic 3s now to see what these are like, see if they're any better. So I don't know, tell me if they are. God, I've missed that airbox. So the last video you would have seen, basically I uploaded that and the bike was back on the road, but it wasn't 100%, like it was running a little bit lumpy. God, I've got no confidence on this bike at all. I mean, I haven't ridden it for months, have I? Oh, nice pops there. I was getting loads of errors on screen. It was running slightly rough. It was also getting really hot, like I had a big warning come up on screen saying hot. The reason I'm riding to London at 3 PM is because we're going over to Paris to basically meet some business counterparts type thing. Basically do like strategic planning and all that sort of really boring stuff. I needed the bike to be sort of in a good enough position to ride the 80 something miles into London, because if you don't already know, I live in Oxfordshire and my work is in London. I'm fortunate enough to be able to work from home most of the time, but on the important stuff I have to go into London. In the last couple of months where the bike has been off the road because the chain snapped, smashed a hole in the engine, long story, you can go watch it all over the channel, which is basically all that's been on the channel for the last couple of months at least. This bike has been off the road, so I've been using my 1390 Super Duke. It's a fantastic bike to commute on, weirdly. Relatively economical and all sorts of stuff. Airbox! I don't know how loud it's going to be on the on motorway, or dual carriageway should I say, because we're essentially going to Paris for about 2 or 3 days. I needed a bike that I can sort of leave in London. A lot of people said to me, why don't I just claim the insurance and get rid of the bike after the sort of chain incidents. The bike means too much to me to sort of just get rid of it. It's such a good bike. I've built the channel with this thing pretty much. I don't really want to get rid of it, especially for the money it's worth, because it's been engine swapped. It's got 59,858 miles on it. So why would you pay 6-7 grand for this when you can go and buy one with quarter of the miles for maybe 1,500 quid more? I mean, I'm very fortunate enough to be in a position where I can have a 1390 Super Duke and a Super Adventure. If either of my bikes are going to get nicked, although this means more sentimentally to me, value-wise, I'd rather this one get nicked. Bike crime in the UK is up massively in the last couple of years, like ridiculous amounts in the last couple of years. So it's just like I've got 3 LiteLoks in my top box and a bike cover, and I've got a tracker in the bike as well. So there's a very high chance they're not going to nick my bike, because I mean, you can't really get through LiteLoks. Even if they manage to get through LiteLoks, I've got a tracker in it. It does feel nice to be back on this bike. My boss has booked the bloody 6 AM train. You've got to be there at about, like, at least an hour beforehand. Eventually getting to the point, Sam. I'm staying in London tonight, and then we're going to Paris tomorrow, coming back Wednesday evening. Because of that, I didn't want to leave the Super Duke in London. I thought I'd rather leave the bike that's worth a substantial amount less in London. If it did get stolen, fingers crossed it doesn't, can't fingers crossed in these gloves, it means it's worth a hell of a lot less than the Super Duke, which means my insurance won't be as painful. I mean, it's still going to be painful either way, because they go, oh, you've had a bike stolen, lol, we're going to screw you for the next 5 years. They might bend me over, then spit on it as a nice thing, rather than just bending me over. Really, really substantially long story, slightly shorter. After the last ride, I deduced that my bike was not ready to do a commute on. It was overheating pretty much, or getting very hot. So I had to find out what that was before I even attempted to ride a substantial distance. And luckily for me, as you can probably tell by the fact that I am indeed riding this bike, is I think I found the problem for all of it, to be fair. The only thing I'm not sure about is my quick shifter seems to be quite stiff. Maybe, I mean, to be fair, I could just swap it off the other engine, because I know the other engine works well. First of all, the dodgy running side of things, or the slightly lumpy idles and stuff like that. When you get these engines from from a breaker's yard, often they will take the whole thing apart, all of the ancillaries and stuff off of the engine, just to make sure there's no cracks and things on it, in the block. What they also tend to do is take things like the throttle bodies off, which are obviously part of the ancillaries, but the throttle bodies are connected via essentially a large rubber O-ring type thing. I mean, this is my fault. All of these problems, they're basically my fault, let's be honest. When I was doing my sort of putting the engine in checks, the throttle bodies didn't seem to want to seat down properly. Like, there was just a bit, there was like a 3 or 4 mil gap, well, feds, between the throttle body O-rings and the actual engine casing itself. I have been commuting on a Super Duke. That looks like quite a small gap for me. I forgot how big this bike is. I don't actually remember how big this bike is, and don't know whether I can get through that gap. I obviously tried to push it down, tried to get it to seat, and it just wouldn't for some reason. But it got 90% of the way there. Throttle bodies are like a very complex thing in the sense of, if you don't get them exactly where they're meant to be, the fuel can't basically atomize properly. So you just get lumpy running and all sorts of weird stuff going on. What I think has happened, I wasn't 100% sure whether it was this or not, because I kind of took the O-ring off and then looked at it and then couldn't work out whether it was how I'd taken it off, if that makes sense. But what I deduced, that's the second time I've used that word, in those O-rings, in those sort of seals, there are cutouts, so it locates on the engine and locates on the throttle body. So you can't get it wrong, essentially. Ironic. So the only thing I can think happened, because I obviously hadn't taken them off, I would assume when the breaker's yard took the engine apart, I would assume that the rubber seal came off and they put it back on. What I should have done before I put the engine in was take the throttle bodies off, check that the O-ring or the seals were in the right way and in the right orientation and all that sort of stuff, and then put the throttle bodies back on. But I didn't, because there was a load of wiring loom going through that throttle body, so I was like, oh, there's no chance they've taken those off, so it must be on the right way. So yeah, I was obviously wrong, clearly. Ready, steady, go. I'm still a little bit nervous about pinning this bike, because chain. So basically I took the bike apart rather quickly this time, because I'm very used to taking this bike apart, and I just decided, you know what, I'm going to take the whole lot off, take all of the injectors off, the whole thing, and I'm going to make sure those seals are hard down on the engine, like sealing on the engine. Put it all back together, sort of left that, and then to get onto the heating issue, again my fault, the hoses that go onto your radiators, they have a metal, I can't remember what you call them, but they're a type of clamp, and the idea being, if you haven't done this before, you've never taken a radiator hose off before, you have the casting of the engine block, it goes into a bit of a dip, then comes back up, and that's the end of the pipe. And the idea is you put the hose on, need to be careful how I'm doing these hand gestures, metal clamping which basically sits into that groove so the pipe cannot come off. Now when I do things like pipes up, bolts up, anything like that, if I put a bolt in, for example, I will screw it in so it bites and then leave it right, like as far from done up as possible, pretty much. And the idea behind that is that when I look back at it, I can go, right, that needs to be done up, and then I'll go round and do everything up and make sure everything's checked, and then if it's done up, I know I've done it up, if that makes sense. I know that sounds weird, but it's part of my autism or OCD or whatever you want to call it. What I normally would do on things like a radiator hose is I would leave the clamp on the hose, like further down the hose, so it's nowhere near the top, it's not done up or anything, so I can see clearly that there is a clamp that needs to be put back on and done up. What I did, no idea why I did this, but what I did, put the clamp up by the hose, and I did it up so it sort of held itself in place, obviously because it kept sliding down or whatever, wasn't tight. And then obviously what happened is down the line I've gone to check over the engine and everything before I put the tank and all that sort of stuff back on. I've looked at it and gone, oh yeah, that's done up, because it looks done up, and it's just not done up because I'm a moron. Obviously the bike got up to run operating temperature, and because of the pressure that built up in the system, there was just gap, like it was just leaking through the non-tightened seal on the radiator. That's literally all it was. It was just dripping out of the front of the bottom of the radiator. So what's basically happened is I've been riding along, coolant's been dripping out everywhere. Eventually it's got to the point where the bike has no coolant in it, so it doesn't matter how much the bike tries, it can't cool itself down because there's basically nothing there to take that heat away, so it's just blowing hot air through the radiators. So I filled the bike up with coolant. I did those hoses back up properly, like I filled the radiators up with coolant because they were dry, bled the radiators, and I went out for like an hour's ride last night. Didn't get a single warning about heat or anything, which was lovely. Before I went out as well, while I was putting the bike back together, I started the bike up, and first of all, the first thing I noticed was the bike ran unbelievably well. It was just, with obviously the throttle body being back on properly. So I started it up, it fired into life immediately and then just settled into the idle really nicely. Oh, torque's there, baby girl. It went to like 97 degrees, I think it was, on the dashboard. And then I heard the fan, I was doing a video for the Patreons at the time, and I heard the fan kick in. Literally walked over to the dash and it went from 97 degrees immediately down to like 88, which is perfect, which is what it's meant to do. I just left it idling, it crept up to 92 degrees because that shipping container is quite a small space, so there's no fresh air or anything like that, so it crept up to 92-ish degrees centigrade and maintained. At one point I revved the bike because I'm a 4-year-old and I like noises, and it went up to 93 degrees, but apart from that it held temperature perfectly. I've put new preload and shock sensors on. I don't know whether they need to be coded to the bike as well. That error needs to be cleared by a KTM system, and I think they need to program the ECU to see this engine. So I think, because obviously this engine is running a completely different VIN, like vehicle identification number, which also might be a reason it can't clear, I can't access it to clear that code. New chain slider on it, which I made sure I really Loctited the living daylights out of. I am going to find or design something to protect that front slave cylinder, I think. My bum is on fire. I need to turn my heated seat off. I'm absolutely cooking. When I rode it the other week, it was really struggling with the power. Like it was, I'd open it up and it was like I sat there going, am I really just desensitized to it because I've been riding the Super Duke all this time? Since I put the throttle bodies on correctly, it seems to be working as it should do, and it's got the power back, and it definitely still lifts the front wheel off the floor. Not that I would know. Lol. I know it sounds weird, but this being non-functional really got to me. Like, this is my pride and joy. This is the thing that started the channel. This is the thing that started... I mean, I had my Tracer, which was a brilliant bike. This bike is the thing that really got under my skin, really got my love for bikes going. My heart sank when that happened the second time in Romania as well. I'm really happy this is back. I kind of took a month to ignore bikes and just focus on other things, ticking things off my lists. I started just going, do you know what? I'm not going to look at my bike. I know what's wrong with it. I know I need to engine swap it and get it all running again. I haven't got the mental capacity for that now, so I am just going to clear some things off my list. We're renovating the house. That didn't feel like it was going anywhere. It felt like it was stagnating a bit. There was a few other bits that I needed to solve. I needed to sort some bits on the K truck. I bought another car, which I'll show you whenever I get around to filming a video on it. So we started just cracking on. Emma and I just absolutely cracked on with the house. We made a massive amount of progress in the house, which is really nice. And then I started doing some other little bits, and I just felt like, do you know what? I feel really nice that I'm just able to... Yeah, okay, that's cool. Like, what's really weird, I know this is going to sound really cliche and stuff, but I honestly feel like I've got my second wind. I've got wind again. Ticking some things off my list, mate. Like, doing all of that gave me the want to, and like the inspiration to get this thing done again. And then obviously I had to rush it a little bit because of the going to Paris thing. I'm in that mood now where I'm getting stuff done. I am in the mood for getting stuff sorted. Things that have been bugging me for a while, things that I've needed to sort out, I'm going to get them sorted now. Not that I claim I'm depressed or anything like that, but the year I've had so far has definitely been one of the most challenging of my adult life anyway. Redundancy, nearly killing myself by crashing the monkey bike, the first engine going with the chain snapping, going to Romania with some massive like revival story type thing for this bike, and then it happening again in Romania. That alongside some other things, I've absolutely obliterated my savings. I've got more debt than I want and all that sort of stuff. It's just, it put me in a really kind of crappy sort of start to the year. And don't get me wrong, I know I'm still very fortunate to be in the position I'm in, but now I'm not going to let 2026 be as shit as 2025. Absolutely not. I'm going to try and take control of it and take control of my own destiny, bro. And if there's there's one thing I can say, like, I recommend just any of you watching this now, if you've managed to get this far in the video, fair bloody play, because it's just been me rambling on a motorway. Oh, she sounds so good. Just do me a favour. There will be one thing that you've been meaning, like, you'll be thinking about it while I'm saying this, but there will be one thing you've been meaning to do for the last however long, whether it's last week, whether it's last month, whether it's last year. Like, you've been meaning to get it done and you just keep putting it off and keep putting it off, and you're like, oh, I need to do it. Whether it's something as simple as cleaning your bike, putting up a shelf, or something that someone's been nagging you or you've been nagging yourself to do, just go and start it. Because even if it takes you a day or two to get it done, the weight off your shoulders is like, I slept like a dead man the night after I got this running. I just laid down, I had a bit of a smile on my face before I went to bed, and I just conked out, and I slept for about 13 hours. It was ridiculous. So yeah, just go and do it. It makes an enormous difference. One thing I will say before I switch off, because the cameras are getting relatively low now, for everyone that commented, liked and subscribed and everything on the last video that I put out, thank you very, very much. There's basically, I'm growing, not that you can see, but I'm growing a moustache for the Movember Foundation. I don't really like asking people to donate, but something free that you can do is like and share and subscribe and comment, all that sort of stuff on videos, and that helps basically put my algorithm up a little bit more. I get more views on the channel, anything I earn from YouTube AdSense in November, I'm going to donate to the Movember Foundation, which is essentially, if you're not aware, it's like a men's mental health, suicide prevention type charity, and they do some really nice work, and there's a lot of like support for them over the years from different people. It gives me a little bit more money to take from the billionaire YouTube gods and give it to a foundation and a charity that actually is worth supporting. On that note, and the fact that that camera's just died, I will bid you farewell. I'm going to go and park this bike in London. It's getting very dark now. I have no idea whether you guys have been able to hear me this whole time, because I've been doing 70 odd mile an hour with microphones that like to pick up background noise. Let's hope. Oh look, the M25. It's got traffic and is on a lowered restriction. What a surprise. How unlike the M25. Lol, sarcasm. Anyway, thank you very, very much for joining me. I was looking at that camera and that's not on. And I will see you when I next upload a video. Thanks, bye, love you, bye.